Hi everyone, welcome to this fourth submodule, How to Avoid Plagiarism. Citation and Paraphrasing. In this class, we will learn the correct techniques for citations and paraphrasing so that we can avoid plagiarism. Now, what is plagiarism? I quote, "Plagiarism is using data, ideas or words that originated in work by another person without appropriately acknowledging their source." As you can see, even that meaning sentence is under a quote, as I have taken it as is from Cargill and O'Connor 2009 book. The only way not to use quote is when you have paraphrased it enough. Even so, the citation should be retained to duly acknowledge the original content. There are four types of plagiarisms: direct, self, mosaic and accidental. Direct plagiarism involves a complete 100% copy of other people's work without citation nor quotation marks. Self-plagiarism is using one's own work for submission in different places, for instance using exactly the same sentences for different manuscripts. Mosaic plagiarism is when statements from other authors are minimally changed, while retaining its original structure. This plagiarism is still considered as wrongful despite having a proper citation to the original sources. Lastly is the accidental plagiarism. This is where, despite paraphrasing a whole statement, the original author of that idea or work is not cited properly, perhaps unintentionally. All four plagiarism types must be avoided at all costs. We actually can check our paper similarities with other papers using tools such as Turnitin. There are also other tools such as Crossref that are used by journals to check submitted manuscript, but unfortunately most of them have to be paid, including Turnitin. Our university subscribes to Turnitin service, so do ask your supervisor if you want to run your manuscript over here for free. Consequences of plagiarism is huge. Your academic career can be at stake for plagiarizing. We can be legally charged and consequently our life will be disastrous. Let us see an example. Here is one case brought to Malaysian court on plagiarism. The Universiti Malaysia Terengganu has revoked the student master's degree on the accusation of plagiarism. However, in this case, the student Fazila Saleh is suing the university for not giving her proper defense and guidance. Anyway, please avoid plagiarism at all costs, as you don't want to end up fighting your university for this. Now that we know the gravity of this situation, the question that probably remains in your mind is, what are the elements that classify as plagiarism? After consulting some legal journals such as cited here and shown previously, I concluded that there are 5 plagiarism elements. First, when we use any part of writing or ideas from another source without proper acknowledgement. Any part of writing includes phrase, sentences, paragraphs, figures, data and even ideas. Secondly, when we do not put quotation marks and duly citation when sentences are taken as is from another source. Thirdly, marginal paraphrasing, whereby we take sentences from another source but only modify few words, meaning that the structure is relatively the same. Fourthly, when the writing receives illegal help. For instance, paid or unpaid service for writing your thesis, as I have shown in the last submodule. And lastly, incorrect citation, where you mistakenly acknowledge that particular piece of writing to another incorrect source. Hence, that is why we must learn proper citation. There is actually other importance of citations, other than just to avoid plagiarism. Citations is important for judging your literature coverage and hence your depth of understanding. But that does not mean having tons of citation is good. Having ample citation, especially those recent ones, and reuse them multiple times in your paper or thesis shows that you thoroughly understood the paper. Remember, quality is more important than quantity. Another importance of citations is to mark that you have done your homework. This is especially true when you are answering reviewers' concern, which we will touch later in the 4th module. Anyway, let us consider the different methods of citations. First is what we call information prominent. This is where the citation appears at the end. Shown here is one example. Ripening process in mangosteen involved multitude biochemical processes such as cell wall modification and pigment buildup, Aizat et al. 2020. This is by far the best citation method and I recommend using it frequently. There is another method called author prominent whereby a citation appears at the front of a sentence. One example is shown here using exactly the same sentence as before. However, you need to remember that using this format poses a significant danger of your sentences appear like a list and lacking a constructive flow. The last citation method is using topic sentence. This is where a few citations are introduced early in a paragraph to hint readers of what's coming next. Shown here is one example. Several reports have stated that mangosteen ripening involved multiple biochemical processes such as cell wall modification and pigment buildup. Aizat et al. 2020, Mahmoud et al. 2019. For example, Aizat et al. 2020, reported that, etc. Some advantages of using topic sentence include the possibility of linking ideas from previous sentence, and as such, improves logical flow. In any case, using whichever citation methods, most importantly please remember to cite the paper you refer and paraphrase. Now let us look at paraphrasing. In general, paraphrasing means to reconstruct particular sentences using your own structure and words, but the intended meaning is preserved. Here is one example. Let us consider an original sentence from Thoreau 1993. Because of their unique perspective, Americans fear globalization less than anyone else, and as a consequence they think about it less than anyone else. When Americans do think about globalization, they think of the global economy as an enlarged version of the American economy. Now let us see one example of paraphrasing. According to Lester Thoreau, 1993, Americans fear globalization less than people from other countries and as a consequence spend less time thinking about it. Indeed, Americans see globalization as an enlarged version of their own economy. Do you think is this enough paraphrasing or still insufficient and hence considered as plagiarism? Unfortunately, there are too many similar words as being bold here and the structure is still relatively similar with the original version. Hence this sentence is still considered as a plagiarized sentence. How about this one? Lester Thoreau, 1993, maintains that because Americans see globalization simply as a bigger form of their own economy, they are less concerned about it than is the rest of the world. You can now see that the structure has totally changed and the only similar words are globalization and Americans as they are generic terms. Hence this sentence is acceptable. Now let us consider the methods of paraphrasing. We can either paraphrase using synonyms, make structural change, changing active to passive sentences or vice versa, as well as changing clauses to phrases and vice versa. However, I will not go through this in detail as I prefer that you go and check this website. They have listed excellent guide on how to paraphrasing and will be a useful resource for you in the future. All the best.